Take it away, Maria.
Hello. Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Hello. Hello, Imani. How are
Hello, hello.
you?
I'm very excited. Uh, uh, yeah, I'm really excited to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're happy to have you. It's been so long, I feel like, since we've seen each other.
It's been over a year.
Yeah, it's
It has,
crazy.
in fact, been over a year, maybe a year and a half at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
Especially with COVID. So
Yeah.
I think the
The-
last time I saw you was what, January 2020.
I think so. I think so. So, I mean, we're almost there, you know. But do you want to just
Yeah.
give a little introduction about what you're up to now, where you've been, how you're doing, just a general overview?
Sure. Why not? So my name's Mani, Imani, blah. And well, at the moment, I currently serve as a youth ambassador at the Brownsville Neon, which is the Brownsville Neighborhood Opportunity Network. And I'm also a community creative arts advocate at a local company called 11375. And I'm also doing my own stuff. That's called Let's Talk Crap, and something that I took from my my senior year in at Oneonta, See Me Hear Me. That's a whole separate project that I'm working on, and these are we'll get into that eventually.
Yeah.
But I left. I studied theater at Oneonta, and that's what I did. And music, obviously. What am I talking about? Um, and yeah, that's what I do now. That's where I started. I'm a little nervous, but I'm sure these jitters will like go away
Oh,
eventually. I've
don't
done
be
enough of these meetings.
nervous. Well, it's awesome. It's awesome to have you here, and it's awesome to hear about all the stuff you're up to now. Is there anything significant that you remember about your experience at Oneana that really helped like mold your understanding of the music industry and how you fit into it?
Yeah, actually. So at the moment, I'm planning a talent show. It's called Brownsville WTF Winter Talent Festival, and to be able to do that, I had to actually. That's using a lot of the skills that I learned at Oneonta, obviously. So knowledge of how shows work, knowledge of how like recording and scheduling and like things that you learn has all been helpful. You know, um, leadership skills, being able to be a part of a team and do this, being able to put together a team and do this, playing in ensembles, doing work myself, showcasing my own work. All of these things have played into creating the job that I have today, actually doing the work that I have today. And I hope that does that answer the question?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. I was just wondering personally, what clubs were you a part of when you were here?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was as a theater student, I was a part of Mask and Hammer, obviously. When I was a sophomore, like earlier in my years, I was a part of the Identity Play Reading series. I directed a few shows doing that. Um, that was great. One of my favorite like theater sides of things. For music, I was uh, all of the classes sort of kind of feel like clubs. So like I did jam band, I did ensembles, I did world ensemble, I did percussion ensemble. I was in the pits for different musicals. I did the orchestra, but I was also in Apollo Music Club. I wasn't always an active member, but I was always performing in their shows. And of course, I was somewhat a part of Drumline, sometimes there, sometimes not. Obviously, that's I'm not gonna like be a liar. I wasn't always I wasn't always
You did what
present
you could.
because
You did what you
college was
could.
I did what I could. College was very hard
Yeah,
for
it's
me,
hard to
and
juggle everything.
that is something exactly, and I'm sure we'll talk about managing stress and changes with COVID and things of that nature. But like mental health was very important to me in college, and correction, mental health was very important to me at the end of college, and managing it became very important to me after I left. And so that's all of that played a role. All of that is what I did in college.
Well,
I did a
that's
lot.
good to hear. That's good to hear that you learn how to deal with everything and how and that brings me to my next question. Were there any times where you really struggled? Not you don't have to go too deep or any and as deep as you want, obviously, but was there any time that you really were
Of
like
course.
questioning, like, am I on the right path and what am I even doing? Like, and how did you overcome that?
Always and forever.
Yeah,
I am
understandable.
I'm honestly a very anxious person. So throughout college, I always questioned whether what I was doing was correct. But to be very honest, I actually started school as a bio major. So when I came to college in 2015, um, I was fully a science major. I auditioned for a show called oh my God. I keep remembering I was in there were two shows. It was Jack or the Submission and the other show that I'm fully blanking on. It was the ENS Go On Acts in my freshman year. And I took the class theater appreciation and I met the department chair at the time. Her name was Patrice Macaluso and auditioned, got into the play, ended up doing the whole like rehearsal cycle. She talked to me about what types of things I liked. I told her that I like to do hands-on stuff. We got into set work and all of these different types of things. And halfway through the semester, I actually switched my major to theater.
That's
my
amazing.
so I've always questioned whether that was the right choice.
Yeah.
Like it was switching to arts was something that I've always questioned because truthfully, I didn't have a theater program in high school. I didn't have a music program, like a intensive music program in high school. I did have like music clubs where I played the drums and I played the guitar. Actually, I totally forgot about that because it wasn't very developed, if I would say. Like I
Understand.
never actually learned how to play the guitar well,
Yeah.
but the guitar that I have today, I got from that music club.
Oh,
And playing the drum set was something that I had learned. I never really was taught how to do it in that music club. I knew how to do it. And so that was all the exposure that I had to really some of the creative stuffs in high school. And so people were like, how did you go from bio to theater?
yeah,
How did you
that's such
go
a jump.
like exactly? Even my mother had one point was like, are you sure you don't want to do like mass comm? And, you know, um,
Something,
and
something
then
else.
exactly. And I so how I got to music because I didn't start studying music at Oneonta until I was a junior in 2017 fall, I believe. And I actually went to a summer camp that I wanted to work out this year, but things I didn't want to do COVID. Excuse me. And that camp was called Frenchwood's Festival of the Performing Arts. I'm talking really fast. Sorry. But so
That's all
you
right.
gotta
As
like catch
long as
yourself.
that's all right. We're getting all the info.
I might just like try to check it all out. But I worked at a place called Frenchwood's Festival of the Performing Arts, where I taught scenic carpentry and stagecraft. And while I was there, I I've always loved music and I've always had a passion for music and drums because I was raised in a very musical environment. Um, and so I was there and I was like seeing these kids, like my campers were 13 and 14, and they were like playing in orchestras and doing all of this fantastic work. And I was like sitting in these concerts and I was like, why am I not taking advantage of the music program here on Oneonta? I was like, what the heck? I've
Yeah.
never actually been taught how to play the drums. I just love it. I learned how to play in church when I was like a kid, just by ear. I kind of just got up there and went. So I was like, I've never been taught this, and there's classes here. I'm a theater major. I literally am down the hall. Why have I never like explored? And so I came back, and I think it was either the first or the second week of the semester that I walked into Julie's office. My roommate, my sophomore roommate at the time, was like, she was taking lessons with Julie, and she was like, go talk to Julie. So I walked into Julie's office, and I was like, hi, I don't know much, but I want to learn. Will you teach me? And
That's
that's
how
how
it
it
all
started.
began. That's so cute.
Yeah, so
Aw.
that was um that was probably a tangent from the original question, but that was
Oh,
how I
that is a-okay. That's amazing though, because it's like you never know how things are gonna end up, and it's always like how who you meet and like your how you're exposed to things and everything. So it's really cool that that was how you
exactly.
got into it.
And to thank you and to piggyback to what your question was, as far as so I've always questioned it, like just going into Julie's office, I've never actually always been that was one of my issues in college, being confident as a percussionist, being confident as a musician, really trusting my skill set because I was never trained. I never had any
Right.
like official background. Um, it wasn't until one of my last semesters, I was like, I think I played in 9 musicals this year. Like, not even kidding.
Wow.
I think, like, not unpaid work, not a part of schoolwork. I think I fully played in 9 musicals this year. And I
Wow.
was like, that's
That's an accomplishment in
to this day, I'm
itself.
like, did that really, like, was 2018,
Was that
right? I
real?
was like, did that really happen in 20? Like, was that? And it's like, yeah, you like you have the actual programs,
Have
you
the
have
stuff.
like, you did this. I don't believe it sometimes. And so, yeah, I
Well,
always questioned it.
yeah, that's understandable. That's understandable. So do you feel like you've gained more confidence in your specific like field or just as a human in general,
As a
since
person,
since leaving since leaving
you
college
know,
or do you feel like it's gone the other way?
I'm working on it. To be very honest, like I said, I've been managing my mental health because mental health is really, really important. And so part of that confidence comes from dealing with my own stuff, dealing with my own past, my own trauma, like learning that learning to trust myself and to trust my abilities is something that I've not been taught, but that I
Mhm.
wasn't taught as a kid. So it's something that I'm working on as an adult, trying to really coach myself into being gentle and
Yeah,
still trusting in who I am and all of these
yeah,
wonderful things.
absolutely.
Um, so even my current boss, she's like, Mani, why aren't you confident? Like we actually had a conversation last week about I'm creating content and I'm doing my own show and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't think it's good. I was like, I want to stop it because it's awful. I'm a little bit of a self-sabotaging
Yeah,
um, bad word that I won't
couldn't
use
tell at
because we're
all.
recording. And so exactly. So my boss was like, you have to be confident. They see something in me that I don't really see all the time. And she's willing to work with me to improve what I'm doing. But she's like, I need you to really present yourself because you know what you're talking about. You know what you want to do. You've always, had a clear head and a vision. You just need to help executing it. And I'm there for that. And so trusting other people in addition to trusting myself, those are two things that I'm working on. And I will say that it's gotten better since I've left Oneonta. I will, in fact, say that because
Good,
if
I'm
I'm not
glad.
growing, then I'm
Yeah.
regressing, and we're not doing that. I'm definitely not worse.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's
Definitely
good
not
to
worse.
hear. Yeah, I definitely think mental health is so important in all aspects of life in general. I mean, how can it's like that foundational aspect where you really need that solid foundation
Yeah,
to get on your feet and know what you're doing and everything. So that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that
it
you're,
really is.
baby steps. Anything forward is a
Thank
good
you.
movement. Of course, of course. Let me see here. Oh, when you were at Oneana, what was a typical day like for you? What did that look like? Were you living in fine arts like many of us do? Were you hopping all over town? What's going on with the money?
Oof. Okay. We got lots. There's lots to this question because this is a loaded question. Okay. Um, what was a typical day like for me? First off, I would like to say that this obviously differs for each student. No student, no art student has the same day, of course.
For sure.
Um,
There's no
and
map
a
or
lot of people
blue.
might think that sometimes there's no map or blueprint. Exactly. And so for a lot of theater people, you would in a typical day you would have hanging out on the bridge. That wasn't something that I necessarily did. So I just first off like to make that declaration that there are not things that will be uh, typical.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I lived off campus for most of my time at Oneonta. Um, and actually the person, one of the people that I lived off campus with, I still live with today. So Oneonta is definitely, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I don't regret my time or anything. Yeah, I found the best friend. Like it's perfect.
That's awesome.
But so being that I lived off campus, I honestly hated coming to campus. Let's just be honest. The travel to campus was sometimes irritating. But that was
I
just
bet.
me. That's just a me thing. Okay. Um, so when I did come to campus, I tried to make it all at once because I also, in addition to being a student and doing all of the extracurricular things, I held a job. I also worked while I was in school. And for some of my years, depending on which we were talking about, I also had rooming situations and other family things to deal with. So each year it was different. Each year my day was different. Each year what I was doing was different. But generally, how my day worked is I always wake up and I have a cup of tea because that's me. I either have a cup of tea, coffee, or warm water. My roommates laugh at me because I will absolutely just heat up a giant jug of warm water and drink it as is.
I mean, hey.
I just got to do it, okay? Just
Truly.
got to do it. Especially when it's cold. Playing Oneonta is cold.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't. I can't start my day without having something warm in my system. Exactly. Exactly. Um, and honestly, I did my best to not schedule classes before 9 a.m. So
I hear you
because
there.
I know myself, and I will not wake up to catch a 7:30 or a 8:15 bus to campus. It's not happening. It's just not happening. So 10 o'clock, I used to try to start my days at 10 o'clock. If I had a project or something, something big, I try to do it in the morning because I am a morning person. But generally, if I slept, which is not always a thing, I journal in the morning. So I start my days with a cup of warm water and a journal entry because that's important to me. By the time I'm on campus for class, if I make it, sorry, by the time I'm on campus for class, I generally do a group thing, right? So I try to bunch my classes together because I'm off campus, so I don't like have to leave campus and come back. We don't like the commute,
Yeah, that's
okay?
a lot.
Working with yourself is very important. We didn't know these things in the beginning, okay? It took lots of trial and error.
Good tip.
um,
Good tip.
but so I would try to group things together. I had classes back to back. It doesn't necessarily make it easier though. Having back to back classes isn't always fun, especially for someone who was really anxious as I am. So let's say one morning I woke up and I accidentally missed my 10 o'clock class because I overslept or I just something happened. I'm like having a really rough mental day.
Yeah.
I would end up missing the rest of my classes, not because I wanted to, but because I was too anxious of running into the professor that I missed at 10 o'clock because I'm going to be in the same building or I'm
Oh my
going to
God.
like,
That literally happened
it
to me
makes
today, but carry on.
like, honestly, some of the, I'm realizing it's like, it's the worst. It's the
It's
worst.
hard. It's
Especially
very
as like, there was
hard.
one year I had 2 classes with Julie. It's very hard, especially when you have double classes with some of the same professors. If I missed a morning class with Julie, I'd like, it'd be I don't know how often I'd make the next one. Cause like, what am I gonna say? And I used to feel so bad. The boss that I'm working with now, who I love, she's a wonderful Black lady. She's like, you, I got
Oh,
you. Come here, you baby thing, do
oh,
this.
let me
Um,
listen.
it's wonderful. She's like, Mani, look, I don't care what you got to tell me. Tell me, like, just get it out. Tell me if you can't do something or you need to do something. And I'm getting so much better at the communication.
Yeah.
So I know if I can't make something, it's okay. But that was one of the things. I'm also on medication. That's a whole separate thing. So my anxiety is a little bit more controlled. But
Good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
truthfully, like I thank you. Like I said, it was a rough time. Only was a rough time for me, and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like
Yeah, don't
um
sugarcoat it, you know?
thank you that word because the word that I was thinking of is again not appropriate for recordings. Apologies.
I got you. I got
Um,
you.
thank you. But yeah, so that was a big issue. Sometimes having the back-to-back classes, and if I missed one, that was anxiety things that would happen. I generally made lunch to bring with me to campus because I I'm broke. That's the real fact there.
Straight up.
Unless I had my paycheck from work, I was not buying lunch. Or if I bought lunch, it was with my Dragon dollars from Seasons. They loved me at Seasons because I did give them a lot of money from my Dragon dollars
Yeah,
all semester.
those
Okay,
decline. Oh my gosh.
exactly. Those declining dollars, they were great. Okay, I love them. I miss that. What $315 I used to get each semester. I don't know if they've changed it.
They did, and now it's
Um,
3.5.
oh, look at
Woohoo,
you.
right?
Okay. Woohoo! Um, there was 2 separate years, so some of you might know this. I'm not Jimmy. I don't think you would know this, but excuse me. Before there was Argo in the library, there was Jasmine's. So sometimes I would buy lunch at Jasmine's. I don't like Argo, so I never actually went there for lunch,
Oh.
unless I had a meeting for Julie. It was mostly not because like I didn't like Argo, like I don't like the taste of it. I miss Jasmine's. I love that ciabatta sandwich that I used to get from Jasmine's, and like
Yeah, it's hard to move on from it, you
I had
know?
some bias. It was hard to
Yeah,
move on. Okay, I
it
had some
is.
personal bias against Argo. It's okay. um,
Argo
but that was
Trump.
lunch. If I had any afternoon classes, I did those. Wait, do you stay at Argo?
Oh, I love Argo. I swear by it. I had some tea today. Shout out to Argo. But that's just me. That's just me.
Love that. I love it.
I've never been
um,
to Argo
but yeah,
before.
if I had any afternoon, I'm sorry, what?
I just said I've never been to the Argo, so I'll try.
Ooh. It's good. You should definitely try it. Yeah, it's on like that part of the library, like right as you're exiting towards the quad. It's
Yeah,
great.
And I think Argo has better coffee than Starbucks. Just saying.
really. Oh,
Yes.
Starbucks
Ouch, Starbucks.
also never saw me because Hunt Unions are just is a dub.
Yeah. I
Um,
like this. We should have a podcast just about the cafes on campus.
honestly, honestly, you could talk a lot about the cafes on
Yeah.
campus and the things that happen in
Oh
the
yeah.
surrounding areas of them.
For sure.
um, but yeah, so if I had any afternoon classes, I did those, and always we can talk about lessons for me, and always in the evenings I had something because I always had something. If it wasn't work, I had rehearsals and rehearsals. Um, I did a lot of rehearsals. That was like kind of my life, to be honest. And I miss it. I'm not gonna lie. That is
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
things I do miss.
Sometimes you practice too on your own.
Sometimes I practice.
Look at that.
You
Look at
know,
that.
Julie, you are so right. You are so right. I'm a late night practicer.
You too.
So like sometimes you'll catch me in there like just before they lock the doors, like 10 o'clock, um, 9, 10 o'clock. Or you'll catch me in there really early in the morning because I have anxiety.
You don't want anybody
And
to
I used to be terrified.
no,
No
you don't
one.
want anybody to hear you practice. Mm-mm.
Nope.
Aw.
And before, I guess, what was it, 2018? They had the room next to Julie's office. So it was, you were not hearing me
I
during
hated
the
that.
daytime.
I
Not a
hated when that
chance.
practice room was the percussion practice room because I was always so self-conscious because I was like, Julie can hear me practicing and I am not doing well. So
But
I'm
I was
glad it's
so
not.
happy to hear you
Oh,
practicing.
that's
I
true.
even
That's true. At
remember
least you had
saying,
like
how about it sounded.
proof.
I loved actually hearing people practice. And FYI, I do stand outside of the practice room that exists now and listen to people when they're in there.
I figured. So it's
No, because of
no escaping it.
Love that.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Sorry, Natsumi. I have heard
You know,
Oh, color out.
wait, what?
I said I have heard you practicing.
Oh, what'd you think?
Of the same thing I think when I'm in your lessons.
Oh.
Y'all good?
What's that supposed to mean?
that's the thing. I used to be like, if you hear me practice, Julie, then what was the point of having the
What's
lessons?
the
You
point of
already,
the
like, you
lesson?
hear me doing it. It makes no sense.
It's like a mini practice.
I think we're digressing into some hot mess of who knows
Just a
what.
little. Well,
I
speaking
apologize.
of practice, like how did your journey go with practicing? Because I know for me personally, I've grown in terms of like how I practice and like learning, especially under the instruction of Julie. I'm always learning new ways to practice and things like that. So are there any like specific tips or anything that you found really worked for you specifically?
Yeah, totally. And actually they still apply to me today because I still practice. Even though I'm not actively playing, like performing, I still practice on my drum pad and I do have a piano, and I would love to make some mini mallets for my piano or get a vibraphone. So that's still something I do.
Didn't you get
But some of the
bongos?
things that I love,
Didn't
I
you
do
get
have bongos. You're right. I do have bongos.
Bongo.
instead of bongos you practice?
I do. I would show you, and I also have the electronic drum kit. So I do have a couple of things. I would show you, but I can't because I moved, and my place is still a giant mess. Do apologize.
Oh,
But
don't worry. I'm
some
in
of the
someone
tips that I
else's bedroom
learned.
right now because mine is not nice. So
Understood.
understandable,
Some of the
understandable.
things I took away from practice was the writing down. I love keeping a journal. To this day, I still have the journal that that I worked with. The same mini journal, Julie. I buy another one of that when I fill it up
Oh,
because I like the format. It works for me. It's straight up. It's very simple. Um, it's like the time, the duration, your mood and your energy, like how you're feeling, basically. Your goals for the session, things that went good, things that went bad, and any additional notes. It's like exactly what I need. Like
Yeah, it's like the
it's
perfect
no more,
form.
no less. Exactly. And so I keep that journal. And yeah, some of the things that I get from practicing now, I'm still a little shy. I'm still a very shy practicer. Like I still feel very bad when I'm practicing and my roommates are like, but the difference is they're not percussionists, so they can't tell whether I'm doing a good or bad job.
There you go.
Um,
There you
but
go.
um, so repetition, definitely, I practice all of my rudiments really slow. And I love to doing the slow, fast, slow for warm-ups because it works for me, you know? It helps keep my hands limber sometimes. Um, what else do I miss practicing other instruments. I will say that. That's a little bit of a separate topic, but I really, really miss having a room that I can go to that has timpani, marimba,
Yeah.
drum set. Like, gosh, I want to go back to school just for that.
Just for
Like,
the
I wish I
yeah.
could have a room
Yeah, that's definitely I think that's
just for that.
definitely something I think about like as someone who's like graduating soon. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm not gonna have all these like resources at my fingertips anymore. Like I have to, make do with what I'll have at the
Yeah,
time." And it's like so important to I feel like that's also why it's so important. Like I not to turn this on to me, but like I like to think of it as like while you're in college,
no,
get all the knowledge you can and everything like that. So I definitely
exactly.
agree with that.
Exactly. And the place that I'm currently in, a place that I currently moved to, has a wonderful little thing in its lease, no playing of any instruments. So,
That's sad.
yeah, yeah. Welcome to
Wow.
Brooklyn apartments.
Wow.
It's written in the lease. You can't
So
play like no loud noise.
how do you practice then?
My electric kit is electric, and I use studio headphones. Not these. I have a different set that stays over there. My piano, I do the same thing. Headphones. I don't actually practice my bongos as much because I don't practice my bongos. I haven't figured that out yet. My drum pad is wonderfully quiet. And I have the Evans Real Feel, the double-sided. So I can go ham on the rubber side and not so ham on the black side. What is that, neoprene? I don't remember what the actual material
I have
is on
no
the
idea
black side, to be honest.
that material.
But yeah, what else? I have like a host of like toys. And I still love calling them toys because thank you, Julie. Like that's hell yeah, I do have toys and I play with them. Goddamn,
Yeah.
sorry. And so like I have tambourines and shakers and I have a guiro and I have wood blocks. I have claves. I can't obviously practice any of those, but I do have them in a wonderful little duffel bag that are just sitting here. And man, I got a chance to play with I forget their names. Names are failing me. These an African drummer this summer at a street festival, and it wasn't planned. They were outside the library. It was like a thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have toys. Can I go get them? Can I go get them? And they were like, yeah, go grab them.
Oh,
And I ended up
that's
like
so
grabbing
fun.
my duffel bag of toys and like finally being able to like break them out.
Oh, that's so fun.
So yeah,
That's
thank
exciting.
you.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Look
fun.
at
It was a lot
you
of fun.
adapting and overcoming all these obstacles. Like not even because I mean, in the res hall, we're not supposed to be too loud, but so You learn how to go about it.
You live and you learn, right?
Yeah, you live and you learn. I was wondering, are there any like specific classes you remember from Oneonta that really like you still call upon all the stuff you learned in those today?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. There are classes that I sorely miss in Oneonta. Um, like all of the oh my gosh, all of the performance credits classes, like jam band, um, the ensembles. I miss all of those. First off, because those classes, I didn't realize it at the time because I was struggling with my own brain. But it was a place where I could be really social with people in an environment that I was really comfortable in. And so like, oh, I just miss having that. And I miss all of that just to start with, okay? Um, Classes that I learned a lot in, obviously, that I still use. It's sad to say I'm not playing music as much, right, in a performance way. Um, but I still read music and I still practice as though I was going to perform. I did say maybe one day I'll like record myself playing if I ever got a background that was suitable enough. Um, that is something that's I've also picked up from practicing. I do like to record myself and like listen back to it every once in a while because heck yeah, thank you, Julie.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just it's a great tool. It's a great
Really,
tool.
it really is.
Okay. Just
You don't even realize like things that you're doing until you see yourself doing it and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've been doing that this whole time?"
yeah, exactly. Like it's just great to see yourself. It's a little less intimidating for me because like I say, ain't nobody gonna see him. But I get so tempted every once in a while to like just email Julie a random recording and then I'm like, no. So tempted every once in a while. Did you just say I could, Julie?
I did. You can anytime.
I will totally
Aw.
I will totally send you videos when I'm like 50 years old. Like, look at what I'm doing.
Oh my goodness, please.
I love that. And like so like I even like compose sometimes. That is a skill that I learned in my last years was I was even working on pieces and I still do that.
Mm.
Excuse me. I just wrote a piece for vibraphone and marimba called Beginner's Lament because it's in
Send it.
C minor.
Send it to
Sure,
me. Thank you.
sure.
Woohoo.
I
Look at
will.
that. Look at that.
It's not as like good as I want it to be.
We can
It's
take works
just
in progress and read them and record them for you, and then you can make changes. Nothing is ever finished.
huh.
Nifty.
Nothing is ever finished.
This is true.
That's
Publish it, and then
again the confidence, you guys.
yeah. Well, the day that you realize that everything is just a work in progress, you'll be there.
We're all works in
You
progress.
know, I'm starting to realize I'm getting there
I know. I can tell.
Yeah.
slowly but surely, right?
Slowly but surely. No, but it's awesome to see that. I was also wondering what resources, as you were like transitioning from being a college student to going out into the world by yourself, were there any like specific resources you used, like the, counseling center, the oh, what's the name of it? It's the internship thingy, career development center. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Anything like that, or even
So
just professors.
so here's a wonderful tip I'm going to share with you guys, and where I made a dreadful mistake during college. I won't say dreadful because I don't actually regret it. Everything's a learning lesson. I did not utilize any of the resources provided to me. Okay. Um, I don't know where I got a hair in my mouth. I'm sorry. I did not. It was a mistake. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I spoke to Julie. I spoke to my professors. Once I got comfortable to speak to my professors, because that was also a very terrifying thing for me to do. Um, as a person, I don't like accepting help. Okay, it is my personal downfall. As we already said, I like to self-sabotage. It's a problem we're working on.
Yep.
But I did visit the career development office once, maybe twice, with like a resume. I did visit the registrar's and financial aid office, several times. But academic advisement, I never really utilized. I always used my advisors because I was in an arts major. So academic advisement was a thing, was different. But even there were still things that I needed to know from academic advisement that I never like,
Yeah.
So one thing I will say for anybody who watches this at some point, and just for us here, and for myself, because I still need to say it to myself, it is okay to ask questions and to like reach out and to say, hey, I don't know. Okay. I don't even know what I don't know. So can you just give me something so I can start piecing that together?
Yeah, so I can
Like,
start knowing.
sometimes I don't even have questions for what I want to ask because I'm like, I don't know I just know that I don't know. Okay.
Yeah,
At
that's
this
all you
moment
know
in
is
time,
yep.
like exactly at this moment in time, I am confused. So if you could just help clarify these things, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a tip that I would share. Like it was a bit something that sabotaged me in my college career. And if you can avoid it, hey, why not?
Yeah, I think it's such a big thing, especially with performance-based majors, or not even majors, but just like performance-based activities. You don't want to accept that you know that you're not the best at where you could be, but you're also too scared to reach out for help because you're scared that they're going to tell you that you're not where you should be. So it takes that confidence to say like I do need help. So
Oh yeah.
I'm happy that
Oh yeah.
you got there, and we're all still getting there. I think
We are. Don't be too hard on yourselves.
yeah, exactly. Oh, and then my last question, and then I'll let Julie ask any questions she has. How did COVID change your entire, I don't know, perception? How did this entire pandemic play into your life? Not, you don't have to go too personal, but just how did that change your professional outlook and everything like that?
COVID did a lot.
Yep.
Let's see how honest I'll be here. Let's see. COVID did a lot. COVID changed a lot. First things first, I appreciated the quarantine as someone who is very depressed and who deals with a lot of stress and hard things. Staying in my house was so nice. Okay. I will personally say that I loved it. I won't say loved like it was the greatest thing ever, but I did
Right, but
enjoy the
at the
me
time,
time that I
yeah.
got. Exactly. Um, Things that changed during COVID um, was a lot. Obviously, a lot of my performances and whatnots got canceled, and I may have also canceled a lot of other things in the process. But um, COVID, there was. Can I be honest, Julie?
Please.
Okay. I just figured I'd ask. So for a lot of people who don't know at Oneonta, because it didn't actually make it public information or anything, I actually didn't finish my time at Oneonta. So due to COVID, it was one of the hardest decisions I had to make. So that was one thing that COVID really, really changed. I was set to graduate in 2020, and I wasn't able to finish because of both mental health, um, because of and obviously I say this and people are like, wait, but didn't you just say you loved the quarantine? Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Here's
still.
the thing. That quarantine, like that quarantine helped me realize a lot of things. It helped me grow as a person. It There was a lot that needed to happen. And one of those things that needed to happen was me to not finish my time. Okay. So those two things go hand in hand. Aside from that, it actually didn't, I won't say didn't, but it has not affected my professional career in ways that a lot of people thought it would.
Mm,
Okay. It's obviously I regret not finishing because I have 97% of a degree. Of course. I don't necessarily regret it. Like I'm not mad about the decision. I made the decision I had to make. Um, And it doesn't change my personality. It doesn't change who I am or how hard I work. And that was one of the things I did in school. I worked really, really hard on both schoolwork and non-schoolwork. I love to do stuff. Like I love to play music and I love to be creative and I love to be free and do those things. So when I have the opportunity, I jump at things that I try things out. So with COVID and everything, despite of COVID, I've gotten 6 different jobs in the last year. Now that seems like a lot.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a lot, but that's because and my mom is like, it's the last job I recently there was a whole thing with it, but I'm figuring out what I like. And that was the freedom that was granted to me by not finishing necessarily, because even though what I was getting a degree in, my field still isn't reopened. And even though I don't necessarily have it, would you believe that I still got a call from Hudson Scenic Studios literally this afternoon saying,
Look at
hey,
that.
are you available for a 2-week gig starting next Wednesday? I have to think about it. So like
That's amazing,
not
but it's
finishing
still,
hasn't
yeah,
exactly, it
it
hasn't
hasn't necessarily like
affected
ruined anything. It's just
negatively.
how it's just the next step,
Yeah,
how it
you know.
happened.
Now a lot of people have asked me, are you going to go back and finish? Yes. Hands down, I 100% am in the process of going back and finishing a degree. I'm currently a student, an accepted student. I actually deferred my entrance because I needed to deal with moving and life things. But I'm starting at Medgar Evers in the spring in Brooklyn.
For
So I'm
you.
really excited to still be, thank you. Like things needed to happen. Okay. First
Yeah.
of all, I will say COVID opened my eyes to things that needed to happen. So that was one of the biggest changes that COVID, like one of the biggest impacts, I guess, that happened during COVID was the actual trajectory of my career. Obviously, there is my college career. Obviously, there is, we've all had to deal with differences. Virtual classes, I'm sure, has been really tough for a lot of people. And there's big changes. So one of the things that I love is that my job is like 100% virtual.
That is nice. That is
It's
nice.
I'm not gonna lie. I do not like I did get one of the issues that I did get with COVID, even though I love the quarantine. I did get a little bit of that COVID agoraphobia. I do not like necessarily going outside and interacting with people. It's not necessarily my
Understandable.
favorite thing to do anymore.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard
Okay.
because
It wasn't
especially after putting you in that situation where you're in such a isolated state and now it's, things are opening up, but it's also like very overwhelming.
exactly. And it's really funny because I was never really like I'm actually very friendly and I'm very outgoing, but I like struggle with it. It's very energy draining for me and I don't actually communicate that to people. So like that's something we're learning. Okay. We're learning how to manage and handle. And so having a fully virtual job, I'm not gonna lie, it's lovely. Okay. Um it's great. What else has COVID changed for me? Obviously I'm not in my field. Okay, theater isn't as open as it. That's not true. I'm sorry. That's not true at all. I'm technically in my field. I
Yeah.
am technically performing
Mm,
and doing creative things and like I do things in
you do.
my field,
Right.
but I'm not like on Broadway or like
Yeah,
playing in
yeah.
pits or like doing theater per se.
Yeah, I see what
Okay.
you're saying. Yeah, it's
I
definitely
just had to clarify
not
that.
all that you expected it and all that it could be right now.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think people have these big expectations of like when you go into a creative field that like you're supposed to end up in this really like high they have this dream. Some people have this dream for you that's like you're going to do all these great things. You're going to be a performer, you're going to be famous, I guess. And they forget that community theater is just as wonderful and super important. It's super vital. And people need to be there to build that as well. It is not always a sacrifice that people want to make because the pay isn't great. Okay, it's not. No. Sorry, my cat's banging against the door. Like, it's difficult sometimes. I won't lie. Like, sometimes I'll be struggling. I'd be like, hey, whew, car insurance, rent, life is, that's the adult life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Life is a
Wasn't
lot.
quite ready for that, but whew, okay. But at the same time, it's great when I can wake up and say, wow, I can actually go to this job. I'm looking forward to going to this meeting about this production. I'm looking forward to helping my community in some way. So that's nice to have that virtual space and still be able to like do that. There was something else I wanted to say and I can't remember. I lost my train of thought there.
That's all right. But that's it's so interesting to hear how much you have to adapt, but also how much things kind of fall into place at when you least expect them to.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was talking about. The job. That was the train of thought I had. The jobs. Yes. Now that you say that, things that just fall into place that we least expected to. Um, I work really hard and I've always worked really hard. So, and as I've said, I've had 6 jobs and I've held like 2 jobs at a time. Okay. It's been difficult. So my last job was at City Foundry. I was doing furniture restoration and antique restoration. It was very cool. Um, and unfortunately, it didn't end well, right? Like I'm a carpenter, but I'm not a refinisher, so I don't have the same skill sets. And it was a little difficult. It was rough. I was also moving. There was a lot. My mom's very sick. There's a lot happening in my life, right? And so that job didn't necessarily end well. But in the process, I get to actually now focus on, because of that, I was doing that other job. I haven't been able to actually make episodes. Haven't actually been able to do the creative stuff that I was working on. I wasn't able to actually even think about doing the talent festival. Like none of this was able to happen while I had this other job. So things happen and it fall into place. I was depressed when I lost my job for about a week. And then everybody was like, but don't you still have this other job? Like, aren't you still working with the small business? Aren't you still like doing this creative stuff? And I was like, yeah, but I'm not good enough for that. And that's when I had the conversation with my boss last week. And she was like, yo, there's something in you. You just need to start like,
Yeah, you need
you
to
know,
start seeing it and everything.
exactly. And now we're back on the chain. The ball is rolling.
It
Metaphors
is.
are mixed up there. But we're getting back on that track and we're the process is going for those things. And so things do really just fall into place sometimes. You just have to, I don't want to say want it enough. That's not really, I don't necessarily think that's the way to go about it.
Definitely not all of
I
it,
think
but
it's
I
more,
fully agree. Like,
yeah, like you really gotta like, it's not just necessarily want, you do have to be working for it. You have to be putting in the work. I like to think that I'm putting in the work, and so I'm hoping that good things happen, and even bad things happen for a reason. My sister who also just had a baby, um, when I lost the job, she also needed to go back to off of maternity leave because how they treat moms, we already know is not necessarily the best. Okay, but because I lost this job and because my other job is fully virtual, I was also able to say, hey, I can assist you in helping raise my nephew now and helping be there for my nephew. And so these things, life is really happy for me at the moment, just today, maybe just this week. Just this week, we're not jinxing nothing.
yeah, no.
Okay. But like honestly, my typical day now versus college, where I woke up and it was very hard for me to get going. I wake up, I might journal, but I'm switching my journal time to now creative writing because I'm a writer. So I do my creative writing in the morning now with my hot cup of water. I then get in my car. I drive to Long Island sometimes. Um, on a Thursday or Friday, I don't because I'm off those days. But I go and I hang out with this wonderful little 3-month-old. He's turning 3 months on October 2nd.
Aw.
And I'm learning how to care for myself in the process of caring for this little baby. Then I go and do my virtual meetings while he's asleep. He wakes up, I feed him, we play, we do tummy time, and we do what we got to do. I do my work in between naps and whatnot. When his mom comes home, when my sister comes home, she takes him back. I finish up any work that I want to do. I'll practice because, yeah, and I'll watch some TV. I'll eat dinner, I'll watch some TV, and then go to bed. Like that's my day. Like
Yeah,
it's not.
that definitely sounds a lot more manageable.
Yeah, and it's this is all recent. So like this is coming to fruition as I'm like as we're speaking. Like this has
Right.
just been in the last few weeks that this has happened. This is my first full week babysitting, so like
Wow.
it's been really a new thing, and
Yeah.
the freedom that I have is really nice. But it's taken a whole year. It's taken all of COVID and trying out these 6 different jobs and saying no to the ones I had to say no to, and like doing what I had to do, making the hard choices, putting in the
Right.
work.
Right, and adjusting to all
So yeah.
the new changes and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That can definitely be daunting. So Julie,
Oh, oh yeah.
Julie, do you have any questions?
I do. Well, I wanted to to kind of piggyback on something that you had said about, the idea of, when you're in school and you have this like vision of the career, the successful career. And one of the things that is a common reel in my brain about that is that we really need to, as adult people now, sorry Maria, you're not quite there yet, but as you are, but as adult people who have jobs and who are actually out in the field, understanding that those idealized versions of success are so narrow and so not, it's not that they're not realistic, but it's also not, that's it's an idealized version of something that I don't want to say
It's
I
restrictive.
don't want to say it doesn't exist, but like it is very restrictive. It leads you to uh, feeling constantly like a failure if you because you didn't reach that thing,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's not. So it's I guess what I appreciate that you brought it up, and I want that to be something that is more commonly talked about in college. That like there are so
Yeah.
many different ways that success, like what I mean, we all should have our own understanding of what success means to us, not based on like some idealized version of our career path. Like just because Julie's your teacher and she's a professor of
Yep.
percussion does not mean that that's the idealized career path. But like in academia, we kind of make things seem like that, and it's not the case. And I mean, and I will say, like even as a person who's been out of college for over 20 years now, I'm still like wavering in these thoughts of what I thought the ideal career path for me was when I was a student, and it's real. It's real and it's long. So part of the reason why I wanted to bring you in this semester and why I wanted to bring in Jordan Knapp, I think Monty, you knew Jordan, right? Did you know Jordan?
You know what? The name sounds familiar. A face isn't coming to mind, but the name, I know the name Jordan Knapp.
Okay. Well, she was in drumline and did all the percussion stuff. She did band and stuff in high school, marching percussion all the way through K through 12. Whenever she could be playing. But and she graduated. I think it was 2016. So she was here when you first started, but you weren't overlapping because you weren't in music yet. But she's not in a career that's directly music. And the same thing is the case for you. Like you are
Mm.
doing creative things. You are doing things that require the use of all the skills you gained at this institution, both in music and theater, and just the life skills that you gained by dealing with yourself being in college. Um, and I want people to see that. So for me, the question that I want you to talk about the job that you have now. I want you to talk about the community work that you're doing. I want you to talk about let's talk about crap, and I want you to talk about see me, hear me. I want to hear about those things. And I think like the questions that Maria's like kind of brought you through this really give us a sense of what the indirect skills are that you learned just by being in college. Like you
Yeah.
probably shouldn't say this on the Oneana Alumni video, but you acquire these skills just by being in college, and it could be any institution.
Yeah,
Should I say? Maybe they'll delete that. I don't know.
that's very,
Um,
very true.
but I want to
They'll
hear what
just
you
edit
think,
it, you
because
know?
we are a liberal arts institution, and you worked your way through a Bachelor of Arts in Theater while taking classes in the Bachelor of Arts in Music program. Like, none of them are career path course paths. So but you learned a ton of stuff. And how does that bring you into the real world? Like, we've seen it in terms of your personal approach to things, but talk about the actual creative work that you're
Mhm.
doing in your jobs. That's all I want to hear about.
Absolutely. So the creative work, that's all Julie was there about. The creative work that I'm doing, so it's, I'm not gonna lie, I feel really fortunate, okay? I actually started this job, um, technically I've started this job since March, is when I got hired. It was through different programs though. So when I started in March was with the Brownsville Community Justice Center. And I actually applied there because I was getting into writing and I wanted to learn more about like that aspect of my creativity. And then I ended up meeting Anita Pierce, who's my boss now, and she does a show called The Brownsville Minute. And she's like on the community board and for the neighborhood, community board 16, and there was a whole lot happening there. And I would to literally just messaged her, like she was like, "Hey, if you want to like have any information, like if you want to help me out with the Brownsville Minute, let me know." And I messaged her and I was like, "Hi, I love theater. I studied this. Can I help you?" And that was literally what happened. Okay, because when I left, I got it. Like we said, I got a degree. Okay, I've got most of a degree. This is what I studied, and this is what I love, and I learned a lot here. Okay, and so when I left, one of the things that I've always wanted to do was to bring theater and art to my community, um, and not necessarily bring as if it's not here. First of all, like let me just say that art is everywhere. Okay, art we do have it, but as growing up, I always, as I said, I didn't have a program in high school. I didn't have access to certain things. When we did see theater, it was really thinking about Broadway, thinking about all these, like we said, these high end, these very uh, narrow definitions of success, you know, that really doesn't define the greater good, like the greater population. Those are the words I'm looking for. Um, and so when I saw the Brownsville Minute and it was just like a talk show, the first thing I thought was like, oh, I could be a news anchor. It was basically what I was like thinking of. I was like, oh, I could just like help her do reporting and like I act. This is a skill set that I have. If it ever became in person, I build sets. I can definitely build you a background. I was like, music. I'm learning how to compose and I'm learning how to use. I actually use MuseScore. I'm learning how to like create music digitally. I'm not very good at it because I didn't actually do audio was one of the things I didn't actually do. I didn't do any audio production, which was a mistake. That was actually why I probably didn't finish the music program. It was the only class like audio skills. I'm mad about it. Anyway, but aside from that, I'm learning how to do that, and that all applies into the job that I'm doing now. So I messaged her. I said I would like to get involved, and she took me on. She hired me. I was doing a little bit more work, and so I let my Brownsville Community Justice job go. And she actually started talking me into doing my own show. Okay, so my own show is called Let's Talk Crap. Crap stands for culture, arts, and politics. CRAP. And it's funny because when I was when I was in college, my senior year, I wanted to do a talk show called Exposic, exposing social issues through music, Exposic, and it it didn't come to fruition because things, and it's always, like I said, these are things that have been in the back of my mind. These are things that I've planned, not necessarily planned, but I started working on in college, right? So let's go further back. Like when I was a sophomore, I did identity play reading series. And one of the things I said when I started that work, when I directed those shows, I said, it would be really great if I could do this type of work where we're just reading plays with a message, you're getting rid of all of the production values. It is getting rid of the literal gatekeeping, the monetary gatekeeping in theater, and doing the show as written for people who just want to see it. And then after it, you have a discussion about the messages in the show. When I did that in college, it was one of the best things I did. I didn't finish. I didn't like continuously do it. I had my own problems. There was on your own little words. There was issues there. That was a separate thing. But I've always said that was something that I wanted to bring to the community, because as like who I am as a person is that like I want art to be spread. Art was one of the ways that I was able to like stay in school. Like art was one of the ways that really helps me heal. And it's important. It's vital to me that we all have access to it. Now, professionally, like I said, we all go to college and we all think about like these narrow paths. And I know we're all guilty of it. It's really like this perfectionist mindset. We all want to impress other people, and we all want to like, put our best foot forward. But the problem is, and there's a quote by Brene Brown, I can't remember the direct words for it, but it's like, it's called your path. Like it's like, if you already know the path that you're walking on, then it's not yours, right? Like you're
That
not
is
walking your
good.
own
That is
path.
good.
Yeah. And so like your path is not meant to, you're not meant to necessarily know it. You're gonna walk a different one. You can have that one as a guideline and it could be parallel to somebody else's, but like you can't walk somebody else's path. Yours is gonna be different. You are your own person. And so I had to realize that like my path isn't necessarily going to take me down, although I love, and I was telling this to my sister yesterday, I was like, oh gosh, I wish I could play in pit percussion. I wish I could like just play pits all day, all night, and like get paid and like be on Broadway and play pits. That would be fantastic. But even coming out of COVID, there are a lot of experienced drummers who are talented, if not more, like skilled, if not like all of these other things that are going to be coming out there. And personally, my internet's unstable. Personally, I don't want to compete. I'm not in it for the competition. That was something that I never actually admired about my field, to be very honest. As I've said, I think art should be shared. I think that we should all have access to basic artistic means. Like we should all be able to, pick up an instrument if we want to and say, hey, because music is beautiful. You think about it, and like I said, I'm working with a baby, and like we play lullabies to babies. Music is one of the first things we introduce to kids. Like
Yeah.
fun, being comic, being funny, acting, playing, literally doing some of these artistic things, painting. This is how we learn how to communicate. It's important that we all have access to it. And so that being my driving force for school, and like Julie will tell you that I like I love doing things for the community. I played in lots of things that had nothing to do with Oneonta, like as a school. I did stuff because I like doing stuff. um and so when I left, when I started this new job, like I said, I hopped right in. Like my boss told me, she's like, you were the only person, when I said that the Brownsville Minute was a thing, you were the only person that like reached out and said, what can I do? And I was like, oh, cool. Because, and at the time I didn't even realize. Honestly, I didn't even think that I was like, oh, this is film. This is not my field. This is like broadcast. This is not my field. What am I talking about? Like, I didn't even like think that this was something that I would potentially like really, really love to do. I was like, okay, I know this. I can be of use here. Why not offer my skill sets? And I can get paid. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
And that was also an issue because we all think about money. We all need it to survive. We all needed to like live. And so the jobs that I took in the past year, a lot of them I did it for money. I did it because I was going to be paid well. I did it because, of course, I have skills, but also I'm going to get paid well. And I want to have my own space. I want to be an individual. I want to be an independent adult and not be asking my mom for things, which I'm very good at doing. In fact, my mother was so upset with me the other day and told me that I don't ask her for things enough. But I want to do these things, and the reason why I don't actually have those jobs anymore is because those jobs aren't feeding me, right? Those jobs aren't, despite some of them maybe being in my field, like doing furniture restoration, which was very cool. The guy actually rents some of the stuff that we built to like movie sets and stuff like that. Like, all of that work is fun. It wasn't actually providing me joy, like it's not actually doing anything conducive or productive to the community. Like, honestly, working for money isn't something that I ever enjoyed. Even, and that's one of the problems I've had, like even academically. I don't do the work just for the grade. I don't do the work just for the money that I'm going to get when I receive it. Like, the reward isn't necessarily always a straight line for me. And so being true to myself, I had to realize that some jobs I just quit, okay? Some jobs I just quit. But I'm realizing that the job that I have right now, I love. And I'm honestly, I don't want to be too early with it, but like I might stay here for a little while and do a dream job. So what I do to actually get into it, sorry, Julie, what I do is I do shows. Okay, I do talk shows, basically like a recording. I haven't done any since August because of personal life things. And we want to be a resource that provides information about culture, arts, and politics. Things that I didn't know about when I was growing up, things that you just might not know. Okay, so the first episode I did for myself was the mayoral. Was a mayoral candidate for the New York City elections, and I will be doing another one of those hopefully at the end of October for the upcoming general election. Fingers crossed. We'll see if we actually get responses there. And so the other episodes I've done was I interviewed a judge, and we also interviewed women of color in cannabis because marijuana is legal in New York. And so I think that's just something that's important. And so again, it's just providing information and resources that helps people in any way that I can, right? In addition to doing that, as a youth ambassador, I do programming sometimes, like this talent festival that I'm trying to put together, on like creative programming for youth. So over the summer, I did a production program. It didn't actually go out. It didn't end as well as I wanted it to like my standards because life things happen. My mom is very, very sick and spent most of the summer in the hospital. But despite that, I actually put together a program and was able to teach some kids how to produce an episode of a show, which was really cool. That's all the work that Let's Talk Crap is doing. Like I said, coming up in the future, I want to do this talent festival for Brownsville where I think we did 30 to 40 participants in different age groups, 10 participants in each age group, to just share art. This isn't, I'm hoping to make this event, this is to make revenue. Sorry, I'm saying a lot, but this is to make revenue because I do have to make money. And so how this is going to work, we're sending out the audition form. People have a chance to audition all through October. We'll record their like performances in November, and then we'll release them in one show around the holiday season. And that show, we hope that you will give a suggested donation for a ticket to see that show. Please support the artist. This is a local community. Boom, boom, boom. Now, trust me, I'm supposed to, like I said, we're supposed to open it up in October, and October starts tomorrow. And I am beyond terrified, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I'm terrified to even terrified, okay? Because I have no idea how this is gonna go. I have no idea what my life is gonna be like, if I'm gonna be able to handle this. Like, I've never put on a production outside of college by myself, much less, okay? Yeah, Julie's like, oh gosh, whoa, okay?
That's a big feat.
It's a big feat, but it's a Let's Talk Crap Presents, and it'll be one of the first of a hopefully running program that I do, because my goal is to, like I said, when I did identity play reading, my goal is to have Let's Talk Crap Presents have a series of these smaller shows, virtual rooms, or people, it's like a table reading, I'm inviting people to a table reading, a virtual table reading, and I'm saying, hey, let's talk about it though. Like, come see it, but also let's talk about it, because there's a lot of issues that we don't talk about. And providing that platform, like I said, one of my biggest mistakes was not knowing the information and not reaching out for the information. So if I can provide information like with no problem, why not? Because I know that there's someone else out there like me who just won't ask. They might go looking,
Yeah, they
but
might.
they might not. And if I can make it easier for them to reach it, why not? Right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, See Me, Hear Me is an upcoming project. We haven't actually launched that just yet because we have a lot of ideas, right? My boss tells me you have a lot of ideas, Monty. Just believe in them, okay? And so that is in the process of getting changed and reworked so that it can fit into what Let's Talk Crap is doing, and hopefully like collab there. Originally, what See Me, Hear Me was, just to be very honest, it was my senior recital. Um, it is obviously no longer that. It ended up being, it ended up changing into a platform, a visible platform for, again, to provide information and resources. But it's more for me rather than it is from my boss. It is definitely a I don't even I want to get into it, but it's not like fully fledged out, and I don't want to ramble. Is how I feel about it. But that's some of the work that I'm doing, and I want See Me, Hear Me is eventually what I want it to become, is a program, one of Let's Talk Crap's programs. I want it to become part of that for people to literally be seen, heard, and respected, because that is something that, like I said, it's very important to me. It was something that someone very important to me told me: may I always feel seen, heard, and respected. And those words have stuck with me. All right. So I want to provide the same thing that I was provided, and give that to people, a space for people to feel seen, heard, and respected. So whether that is a creative writing program once in a while, which I am actually in the process of putting together. Hopefully I can like launch that in the new year. We'll see. Um it's crazy. I'm actually doing things, you guys. I don't know.
That is crazy.
But that is something in the works under the Let's Talk Crap brand, which I'm trying to build.
It's really
So
cool to see how you integrate both your personal vision with the company's vision, with like everything. Like it's so multifaceted, and it's so interesting to see that. So that's awesome. I wish you the best of luck on everything.
Yeah, and it's so unique.
thank you. Shoo, I need all the luck I can get at this point.
Yeah, it's really
Go ahead, Julie.
It's really unique too, because it is, all of these things are you, and all of these things are like a composite of everything that came before. It's beautiful. I mean, so when we were talking this summer, I was so excited. Like I was like, this is just amazing. Like you're doing, like, somehow and very very quickly out of your college career, we're able to like synthesize all these different interests and find a place to actually get paid doing it. So it's awesome. I'm
Yeah,
happy.
kudos to you. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. It's crazy, you guys, because like I said, I've had this job since I've started this job in March, technically May, and since May I've also gotten 2 separate jobs in addition to this. And because of I've been trying to work 2 jobs, and my sister had a baby, my mom got very sick, my life has been and I moved. Life has been so crazy, so I haven't been able to focus on it as much. And like, we're settling. Like, this week is really like the first week that we are now really getting into the groove. I'm excited to give them all of my energy because the baby gets some of it, but like, this job is going to get the rest of it. And I mean, I'm really excited. I think there's some good things happening if I can make it happen.
That's amazing.
I think you will. We might not know what it's going to be yet, but I think you will.
For sure, for sure.
All right, well, we should probably call it.
That's true. These plans is always changing.
Do you have any parting
Yes.
words, Mani? Yeah, you.
Me?
Do you have any parting words?
You know what? Be true to yourselves.
All right, take that. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Imani. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you again, even if it's virtually. It's so good to hear everything and to see where you are now. It's amazing.
All right, we will
Thank
let you
you.
know.
Thank you. It was a blast. I had a lot of fun.
Good, good. I'm glad.
We'll let you know when the video is available, and I think you'll be getting contacted from the alumni office at some point too. So we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Have a good night.
We'll talk soon. Have a good night.